When the news of Brad Arnold's death began to circulate, fans across the world struggled to process what it meant. For decades, his voice had carried emotion, grit, and honesty into millions of homes. He was not just the lead singer of a band people grew up with. He was a constant presence in the background of road trips, heartbreaks, celebrations, and quiet moments of reflection. The idea that he was gone felt unreal. And yet, behind the shock in the headlines, there was a far more painful story unfolding privately. In the days leading up to his passing, Brad Arnold's health had declined rapidly, and those closest to him were forced to confront a reality they had long feared. Now, for the first time, his wife Jennifer Sanderford has broken her silence, offering a glimpse into the devastating final chapter of his life. Brad Arnold had always been open about his struggles, but he was also known for his resilience. He was the kind of person who pushed through pain, who showed up even when his body begged him to rest. That determination, which fans admired for so long, became both his strength and his burden during his final days. According to those close to the family, Brad's condition worsened quietly. There were no dramatic public announcements at first, no urgent pleas for attention. Instead, there was silence, broken only by concern from a small circle who understood just how serious things had become. Jennifer Sanderford stood by him through every stage of that decline. While the public continued to associate Brad with strength and perseverance, Jennifer saw the man behind the image. She saw the exhaustion, the frustration, and the fear he tried so hard to hide. In her words, Brad did not want to be remembered as someone who was fading. He wanted to be remembered as someone who lived fully, even when life became unbearably difficult. That mindset shaped how he approached his final days, and it shaped how Jennifer chose to protect his privacy until now. Those final weeks were described as emotionally overwhelming. Brad's health battles took a heavy toll, not just physically but mentally. He knew what was happening. He understood the gravity of his condition, even when others hoped for improvement. Jennifer later shared that some of their most meaningful conversations happened during this time. They talked about life, about regrets, about gratitude, and about the people who mattered most. These were not conversations meant for the public. They were intimate moments between two people who had shared love, hardship, and commitment. As Brad's strength continued to fade, Jennifer became his anchor. She managed medical decisions, coordinated care, and remained at his side through long nights filled with uncertainty. Friends and family describe her as unwavering, even when the situation became unbearable. She was not just watching her husband suffer, she was preparing herself for a loss she did not want to accept. Despite the pain, she respected Brad's wishes to keep his condition private for as long as possible. He did not want sympathy, he wanted dignity. When Brad Arnold passed away, the moment was described as peaceful but devastating. Jennifer has since revealed that he was not alone. Surrounded by love, he spent his final moments in the presence of those who mattered most. There were no grand gestures, no dramatic scenes, just quiet goodbyes and an overwhelming sense of finality. For Jennifer, that moment marked the end of a chapter that had defined her life for years. In breaking her silence, Jennifer Sanderford did not speak with bitterness or anger. Instead, her words were filled with sorrow, love, and respect. She described Brad as more than a musician, more than a public figure. To her, he was a partner who carried immense emotional depth, someone who felt things deeply and expressed them through music because words were sometimes not enough. She emphasized that the world saw the performer, but she lived with the man who struggled, who doubted himself, and who cared intensely about the people around him. Jennifer also addressed the misconception that Brad was always strong. She explained that strength does not mean the absence of pain. In Brad's case, strength meant continuing even when life felt heavy. It meant choosing love over fear and presence over withdrawal. During his final days, that strength looked different. It looked like quiet acceptance, moments of vulnerability, and an honesty that had not always been easy for him to share publicly. The days following his death were described as surreal. Jennifer spoke about the silence left behind, the absence of his voice in the home, and the reality of waking up knowing he was no longer there. For someone who had been such a constant presence, his absence felt overwhelming. She admitted that grief arrived in waves, sometimes gentle, sometimes crushing. There were moments when she felt strong enough to reflect on his life, and others when the pain was simply too much to articulate. What made those days even more difficult was the public reaction. Fans around the world mourned Brad Arnold as an icon, sharing memories, lyrics, and personal stories of how his music had helped them through difficult times. Jennifer expressed gratitude for that love, but she also acknowledged how hard it was to grieve privately while the world grieved publicly. Every message was a reminder of how deeply Brad had touched others, and how final his passing truly was. In her statement, Jennifer made it clear that Brad was aware of his legacy. He knew his music mattered to people. He took pride in that, even when he struggled with his own doubts. During his final days, he spoke about hope, about the importance of connection, and about staying true to oneself. Jennifer believes those messages are what he would want people to remember, rather than focusing solely on the pain of his passing. She also addressed rumors and speculation surrounding his death. Without going into unnecessary detail, Jennifer emphasized that Brad's final days were handled with care, respect, and compassion. She asked for understanding and privacy, reminding the public that behind every headline is a family navigating unimaginable loss. Her words were not defensive, but firm, setting boundaries while still acknowledging the love fans had shown. Brad Arnold's death marked the end of an era for many. For Jennifer, it marked the loss of a future she had envisioned with him. She spoke about plans they would never fulfill, conversations that would remain unfinished, and dreams that now existed only in memory. Yet even in her grief, she highlighted gratitude. Gratitude for the time they shared, for the love they built, and for the moments that defined their relationship beyond public perception. As tributes continue to pour in, Jennifer has chosen to step forward not to seek attention but to honor Brad's life honestly. She wants people to remember him as a man who felt deeply, who loved fiercely, and who gave everything he had to his art and to the people he cared about. She described him as someone who believed in authenticity, even when it was uncomfortable, and who found meaning in connection rather than fame. The final days of Brad Arnold's life were devastating, but they were also filled with love. Jennifer's decision to break her silence has offered a rare and painful insight into that time. It reminds us that behind every public loss is a private grief that cannot be measured in headlines or social media posts. Brad's voice may no longer fill arenas or playlists, but his impact remains, carried forward by the music he left behind and the people who loved him most. As the world continues to reflect on his legacy, Jennifer Sanderford's words stand as a quiet tribute. They do not seek to dramatize his passing or turn his pain into spectacle. Instead, they ask for compassion, understanding, and remembrance rooted in truth. Brad Arnold's life was marked by passion, struggle, and connection. His final days, though heartbreaking, were shaped by love, and that is how those closest to him will always remember him.